So recently I was asked, what is the one thing I would suggest somebody with anxiety or depression or things like intrusive thoughts does? And I think they were asking because they were after some kind of hack, some brain hack or shortcut, because that's the world in which we live today, isn't it? We live in a hack culture. And anybody who knows me and knows what I do knows I don't believe in things like hacks. You can't rush a sunrise and you cannot rush healing. However, if there was one thing I was going to suggest, if there's one thing I know absolutely for sure, and the data's out there, the proof is out there, there's people out there that are peer-reviewed proof of this, is have an internal locus of control. Now, what does that mean? An internal locus of control was penned by a guy called Julian Rotter, I believe, in 1954, a very eminent psychologist who was studying thousands of people to find out how come some people achieve things and some people don't and never can. And what he discovered lines up very much with Buddhism's impermanence and interdimensionism. And we're going to go into that very quickly now. What locus means, all that locus means, not the insect, locus, it means point. So have an internal point of control. So to explain the opposite of that, an external point of control is where you believe external things outside of you control your happiness and your life and your future. Things like luck and fate, to go, oh, it's easy for them, isn't it? They're lucky people, or it's easy for them, their parents are really successful and they had a nest egg. I'm never going to go and get the job because there's always better people out there. It's pointless me asking that person out for a date, because why would they ever date me? There's better people out there. If you believe control is outside of you, have an external locus of control, you will never, ever, 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 ever achieve things that you need to achieve because of how the brain works. The brain is a thing called confirmation bias. I've studied that in the video. I pointed that out in the video. If you look at my videos, you'll see. The confirmation bias is how your brain collates information that supports what you believe. And it's called bias because it isn't fact, it's biased to what you're believing. So if you're having negative thoughts, oh, it's easy for them, they're lucky and I'm just not a lucky person, nothing ever goes right for me, your brain will collate information that supports that. And then that gives you a reason to never bother and to never try. However, an internal locus of control means that you are in control of those things and you can look for the little things that you can do to move you ever forwards. And there's been plenty of examples out there. People like Eminem. Eminem grew up in a trailer park in absolute poverty. And, you know, he was a white guy way back in the day where it was a black dominated rap culture. It was all stacked against him and he became the greatest rapper in the world because he believed in what his talents. Again, Oprah Winfrey, absolute poverty in, I think, Mississippi. But she still achieved because she believed in what she was doing. J.K. Rowling, again, I think she had her manuscript rejected by 12 or 20 publishers, and she was a very depressed single mother at the time, but kept on. An internal locus of control means, what little things can I do to move me forwards? What little things can I do to make me feel better? Now, I've gone through this with a guy that I'm working with who was massively depressed and struggling terribly with intrusive thoughts. So, what little things can you do to make yourself feel better? Could you tidy up the kitchen and wash up? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so that's one. What other two things can you do, little things can you do to make yourself feel better? You can have green time, which is what I call turning your phone off and going for a walk for half an hour. Yeah, I can do that. Could you go to bed early and hydrate? Yeah, I can do that. And the thing is, the brain doesn't care the size of the win. The brain only cares that it has a win and it produces a chemical reaction because of that. Your brain, you may care, but your brain doesn't care whether it's a lottery win or you've done the dishes. It's one thing that you've done yourself with a positive outcome. And that's how you gain the momentum of having an internal locus of control. If you wanted to be an Olympic powerlifter and you'd never lifted before, you wouldn't go straight into a gym and try and lift half a ton of weight because you know it would be impossible to do. But it could be possible over time if you worked up to it and trained for it. And this is what having an internal locus of control is. It's training your brain for positivity. It's the reason why I have my banned words. There are words like need. Need is a banned word. You don't need a new car. You don't need a holiday. You don't need a love of your life. You can want these things. When you want them, the control is internal. You've got an internal locus of control. You're saying, I want a new car. I want a new job. You're not saying, I need it. There are things like hopefully. Again, hopefully is an external locus of control. Because you're saying, hopefully you're waiting for fate or luck to change, to have things. Well, hopefully, I'm hoping things would change. Hopefully is banned. You can believe things would change. You can want things would change, but you don't need to have hopefully. Maybe and possibly is another one, because that's a bridge. That's a bridge from positivity to negativity. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll possibly I'll go for that job. I hate my job, but possibly I'll go for it. The other one is because. Because again is another bridge from positivity to negativity. Oh, maybe I'll do it later because I don't really feel like it right now. Maybe I'll go for that job, but because I'm sort of okay with where I am, I won't go for it because I'm probably never going to get it. So because is a banned word. We have to be very careful of vocabulary. We have to use words that complement our need for an internal locus of control. So what little things can you do? Because remember, your brain doesn't care the size of what you do. Your brain only cares that you do. And that's how you then rewire your brain for positivity. I've done a video on rewiring your brain, but an internal locus of control is what allowed people like J.K. Rowling and Oprah Winfrey, and I think Howard Schultz was the guy behind Starbucks who lived in tenement, depressed areas of I think Brooklyn, and now has the Starbucks empire. Because again, little things. What could he do to get his coffee chain? What could he do to get his coffee shop? What little things could he do? Seeing the positive. So, if you can have an internal locus of control, if you have the control inside you and you know you're responsible for the outcome, even little things, what 3 little things can you do to make yourself feel better and move forwards in your life is giving you an internal locus of control. And that's the one thing, if you look at anybody who's been successful, they will all have an internal locus of control. They all believe the answer's inside them. I am in control of my outcome. Nothing externally is going to change anything. It's down to me. When there's obstacles, I will then go, well, what can I do to overcome that obstacle? Because obstacles are what you see when you lose sight of your hopes and your dreams and your ambitions. Obstacles aren't in your path. Obstacles are your path. Have an internal locus of control and you'll be able to conquer anything. Hope you like the video.